Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands of years, but every few hundred millennia, evolution makes you want to listen to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we will be chronicling Mistborn, the Final Empire, chapters 22 through 25. So now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe! Thank you, Joe. Yep, and once again, we are back with more Cosmere Chronicles. Start the same every week, but that's how this sort of stuff goes. And I am, like he said, Joe, and I'm joined once again by Sheta and Justin. How are the two of you doing on this day that we are recording?
Great. Thanks for having us, Joe.
4.7 out of 5. That's how I'm doing.
All right. And, all right. Well, don't really have much to ask. I don't want to dive too much into personal life, except about topics where people can judge you based on your likes and interests, which is what we will be doing now as we dive into that. All right. So we've already gone through Marvel and DC characters. Last week we did Star Trek. So let's go into the world of anime and manga. We'll start off by asking your let's do top 3 favorite anime / manga. No, don't everyone speak all at once.
It's a question, man.
I guess I already know my answer, so I'll just say it while two of you figure out yours. My, fairly basic with them. My number 1 would be One Piece. Number 2 would be Fairy Tail. Number 3 would be Dragon Ball.
Those are pretty standard.
Yeah. There's plenty of others that I read. Those 3 I like. I would also put an honorable mention to Rurouni Kenshin, because that is also a fantastic manga.
So I think I'm going to go One Piece, Cowboy Bebop, and Gantz, but just the manga.
You don't like the anime Gantz?
I like it all right, but it doesn't go very far in the story. But I do love the CGI movie Gantz. Oh, that would be a very good one. I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's my answer for right now. No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. It is One Piece FLCL and Gantz. I'm sorry, Cowboy Bebop got kicked out of that list.
Cowboy Bebop dropped 2 spots.
It dropped 2 spots. Well, that wasn't an ordered list.
Okay.
This is anime or manga?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what makes it hard.
Okay, I guess number 1, One Piece. 2, Dragon Ball. And 3 is Hakume and Mikoji. Tiny Life in the Woods.
Sounds like we're supposed to be doing a One Piece podcast here from those answers.
We should.
No, we shouldn't.
You want to add to the mountain of billions of One Piece podcasts out there, Sheta?
There's a lot.
I need to add my offerings.
There's a lot of One Piece podcasts of varying quality. Some are great and I enjoy listening to. Some are horrendous.
I feel bad not putting Dragon Ball on now. You guys both had it. But I'll stand by my guns.
All right. And I feel like it would be too hard just to do 3 characters from the entire spectrum because they're all different series. We'll skip that.
I don't know.
No, it's at least Marvel and DC are still staying in the realm of superheroes with all
at least
anime
pick a
and manga.
series then. Pick a series.
All right. Well, we all said One Piece. So who are your 3 favorite One Piece characters?
Robin, Luffy, Smoker. That one I can do.
Oh, man. Why do you gotta do this, Joe? Luffy, Chopper, Sanji.
My 3 favorites will be Jinbei, Luffy, Akainu.
Boo!
Wow.
You need a strong Navy guy in there.
You do not. Why?
Hey, I had a Navy guy, Sheta. You're the only one who didn't.
I guess Kobe I like too. My favorite is obviously the best character.
Just Luffy?
Huh?
Hmm?
No, Borsellino.
Oh, yeah.
That's my Navy guy.
He'd be in my
honorable
top 10.
mention. Yeah.
Well, I'll give Ivankov an honorable mention then, since you stole a 4th pick.
Well, then my fourth pick would be Sabo.
Interesting. See, yeah, honorable mentions are interesting because you
But-
can't.
Careful,
Secure.
Sheta. This is going to turn into like a top 100 list if you're not careful.
One Piece has some of the best characters ever, so it's very hard.
We did have like all of us like, yep, very heroic, more on the good guy side of characters, even Smoker. And then
Mhm.
Akainu, like one of the biggest bads of the
Which is weird because usually in series the villains are some of my favorite characters, but in One Piece I just want to beat the shit out of most of the villains. So he does a very good job at making them unlikable.
The only ones I'm really like other than it's like, all right, I appreciate these villains. The only ones where like I just want to punch you would be characters like Charlos and Spandam.
Yes, for sure.
Well, there's some of our ramblings about anime and manga. We may come back to it in the future. But now we're gonna go on about our ramblings of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. Because today we went through and we read chapters 22 through 25. We made sure to read all the chapters. So,
yeah, we sure did. Maybe some of us were at the last second finishing them up because we did not read the right amount, but we did make sure to read them all.
But he means Justin.
We mean Sheta. Yep, Sheta. You got to be more on top of things, Sheta.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So any quick thoughts or feelings of how you two enjoyed these chapters this week?
Probably my favoriteest chapters I've ever read in Mistborn.
Yeah, they would be for you.
Yes. Top favorite.
Yeah, she just loves reading a plan burning to ash.
No, that's what I like reading.
No, I did not like that. I like the earlier chapters of these ones.
All right. Well, if you two have nothing else to add, then we'll just jump right into chapter 22.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yep.
So starting with the epigraph. At first, there were those who didn't think that deepness was a serious danger, at least not to them. However, it brought with it a blight that I have seen infect nearly every part of the land. Armies are useless before it. Great cities are laid low by its power. Crops fail and the land dies. This is the thing I fight. This is the monster I must defeat. I fear that I have taken too long. Already, so much destruction has occurred that I fear for mankind's survival. Is this truly the end of the world, as many of the philosophers predict?
This is making me want to read this book whenever he talks about this stuff.
Just read the Lord Ruler's Rise to Power.
Basically, yeah.
In all honesty, I have thought about it, and I do feel like that would be like just a fun little like prequel book you can write. I mean, I'd read it.
Of course
Yeah.
you would. You've read everything he's written, right?
I just assumed that one of the books we're gonna have to read is that book. So
Oh, I hate when they do that. I wouldn't want that.
like a prequel. Yeah.
Well, no, not a prequel. That's fine. But like in this book, just take like an entire book
But-
just for that alone. You know?
I thought he would just write the journal as a book with little, extra stuff put in there. You wouldn't like that?
No, that I like. I like reading the journal.
Be kind of like Fire and Blood, where it's written like it's a history book. So you have a guy like saying the history, and sometimes there are varying accounts of it.
Yes, like that.
All right, so now into the chapter proper. So it begins with Vin reading the Lord Ruler's journal, and she's not really a fan of it. She finds it boring with all the packing lists that just goes over, and she also finds the Lord Ruler pretty whiny. Then she is
That was
interrupted.
funny because that's a comment we've made many times when reading his journal.
Yeah, I've
entries.
said that for. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yes,
He
Vin.
just says that like every time, so I thought that was funny to read.
I'm glad. I'm like, yes, I knew we were on the same page.
And then Vin gets interrupted by Spook, who informs her that Dox has arrived at the mansion. And during the conversation, Spook is trying his best to speak in normal speak and not his street slang. And then he gives Vin a handkerchief, blushes, and runs away. And Vin is utterly confused as to what just happened.
That's the cutest thing ever. Oh my gosh. That's my favorite moment in all book.
I knew it would be.
I love him. I love Spook.
And she's just like, what the fuck? What the hell was that?
Yeah. It's like, what is this? Cute a hanky. That is the cutest thing ever.
And then Vin goes to find Dox and sees that he is in a meeting with Lord Renew. So, she decides not to bother them because it might not be, because she has to be playing Valette, and other people would find it odd of her just barging into. So instead, she goes to talk to Sazed. Vin finds Sazed in the library and notices that he's no longer wearing glasses. And she's talking to him, and she brings up the part in the journal where the Lord Ruler talks about the Terrace Pac-Men seemingly storing up their power for the next day. And she asks if this is what Sazed does, and he says it is, but then he tries to end the conversation there. He doesn't want to talk about it more. Vin pressures Sazed into explaining, using the excuse that, if she knew about it, then she could understand if it gets brought up in the journal again. And Sazed relents, and he says that he is what's called a ferrochemist. And he goes on to explain them. Pretty much, ferrochemists, they store attributes and metals, and then they're able to access them later. And Sazed wears many rings and earrings, and he also has some metal hidden on bracers that he wears on his upper arms underneath his shirt. And pretty much, ferrochemists, it's different than allomancy, where allomancy, you eat a metal and then you get a bunch of power in order to go, just gain power. So it's like a net positive. Ferrochemist, it's meant to be like you don't gain or lose anything. It's net neutral. So if you spend, so if you become weak for a while, say for an hour, now you have an hour of strength you can tap into later.
Yeah, that was really interesting how that was described. That's not how I expected whatever he was doing to be, but it makes sense from what we know about him and what he can do.
Yeah, it's weird.
And Vin figures out that's probably why he was wearing glasses for a while, because he was weakening his eyesight in order to store up eyesight in one of his metal mines, because he would have used a lot of it in order to see in the dark when he had to find her to save her.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then Sazed talks about how the Lord Ruler hunts down ferrochemists. He hates not just the ferrochemists, but all the Terrace people. And Sazed hopes to find the reasoning for this in the Lord Ruler's journal. And he suspects it will have something to do with the Terrace Pac-Men and their leader, Rashek, since the Lord Ruler keeps bringing up Rashek in it. And then Vin brings up how the Lord Ruler talks about the Terrace prophecies in the journal. But Sazed doesn't know what those prophecies are because the Terrace religion has been lost. This is what the Keepers are hoping to find, their own religion.
That is so sad. Somebody who values religion so much should just have theirs completely not exist anymore.
What does he know? Like 300 some religions, but he doesn't know his.
Funny.
All right, and so then next, Vin asks Sazed about the handkerchief that Spook gave her, and Sazed informed the noble society a man gives a handkerchief to a girl he wishes to court. Vin is surprised by this because she didn't think that Spook liked her. And Sazed pretty much is like, how could you not know? He's always staring at you. And she just thought he was staring at her because he's creepy.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. I just thought he was a creep.
So cute! Oh my gosh.
That was funny.
I can't wait to cast Mistborn as the...
I gotta say, I don't have high hopes for Mistborn after this part.
Why?
Whenever a character in unrequited love confesses, that's when I start getting worried that they're trying to make you feel sympathy later.
Oh my goodness, don't even say that.
I'm starting to get worried for the poor boy.
No,
Wait, worried as in she's going to turn him down, or worried as in he's going to die?
Worried as in he's going to die horribly and pointlessly.
No. You're right.
No?
I've seen this before. I don't want that to happen. I'd be so sad.
Well, sometimes a writer knows you've seen that before and is doing that stuff just to throw you off for a fake out later, too.
Oh, no. I don't know what to think. I'm going to be so heartbroken if anything happens to him.
Well, that's why.
Yeah. It's perfect because he's kind of like Little Saint in You Got Served. Once something happens
like Little
to him...
Saint in You Got Served. That's right, Sheta.
It is. Now everyone's like, we got to win this for Little Saint. Like, that's what's going to happen with Spooks.
I'm going to say to people out there, you have no idea how often Sheta references You Got Served when it comes to writing tropes. I don't know why, but quite often.
Because it's a classic.
Just like in You Got Served.
It's a classic. You Got Served. Not even like Step Up or something like that.
No way. You Got Served is way better.
Oh. I need to look up. Okay, it did get one sequel called Beat the World.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. But yeah, no, I hope nothing happens to Spook. No, I forbid it, Justin.
All right. Sorry.
Forbid it. I will quit the book.
All right. Okay, then. All right. So then, Sazed also mentions that Hammond, you know, while they're talking about relationship stuff, he mentions that Hammond has to spend a lot of time away from his wife. Vin is surprised to hear that Ham is married, and Sazed says that both Ham and Yeden are married, but keep their families away from the underground for their safety. Vin asks about the others. Sazed said Breeze is a bit too self-motivated to have a family, and that Dox hasn't spoken of his romantic life, but Sazed suspects that there is a painful past since he was a plantation scout. Once again, Vin's surprised, this time to hear that Dox was a plantation ska, and Sazed asks her if she ever actually does spend time with her friends. And this makes Vin realize that she does, in fact, have friends now. So then Vin goes to meet with Dox later, and he tells her that they haven't gotten any word yet from Kelsier, but he suspected as much, so not to worry. And Vin asks Dox about the life on the plantation, and he says that it was just life. Hard life, but that is how life is for all ska. His owner was known as one of the better owners out there. Owner or master, I can't remember which term he used. So then Vin asked Dox why he left the plantation, and he says that there was an event. And Vin asked him if the master took a woman that Dox loved, and he confirms that's what happened. He loved a girl named Carrion, and the two would sneak around to be together. Then one night, the owner took her and left her body in the morning for them to bury. Dox left the plantation the next day.
It's awful.
Yeah, this part was so interesting how you got to get a little bit of the life of the ska there. Thought it was fascinating how everyone kind of rallied around it. They kind of felt happiness at this young love that was happening.
Yeah, like they covered for them and helped them see that something good was flourishing here, like love.
Then when it all went south when she got killed, it wasn't like everyone, even him, it wasn't like a rage. It was just like, well, that's how it is. We should have known. And just it just so totally hopeless and horrible that he just left.
They're just kind of like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Oh, well, that's how it is. That was really horrifying. And the way he told it so kind of matter-of-factly and mundanely was very sad and scary too.
Yeah, but even then he's like, yeah, well, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, like that's his response to that. Like, just depressed and.
Yeah, and when he said he didn't even know there was other stuff outside of there, seems like he was a pretty simple person.
And Vin's shocked when Dox tells her all this because Dox had said that his master was one of the kinder ones. And Dox says that, he was one of the kinder ones because he rarely beat his ska to death, and he only purged the elderly when the population got out of control.
Oh.
Vin says that he has like a hot, that she has probably seen him around at the balls because he has been in Luthadel recently.
That part was harrowing to hear. It was like, dear God, to realize what she does here, that these people who do this are just standing around laughing with her. Sounds just really horrifying.
Because he's one of the nicer ones, and still, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And then like who have I been freaking dancing with? Like
yeah.
I would be just disgusted.
And Vin doesn't understand how the nobles could let a monster like that at the balls, but Dox tells her that that's how all of them are. Like the nobles don't see ska as people, and Vin is letting the nobles dupe her. Things are less visible in the cities because of whorehouses, but all the boys that she has been dancing with have gone and had sex with a girl that they knew would be killed because of it. And as Dox is explaining all this, it's pretty clear that he hates the nobles as much as Kelsier does, but he's not as passionate about it. And Vin is arguing within her head that all the nobles cannot be like that. There's no way that Elend has had sex with a ska woman and murdered her.
They really got me wondering here too, just like her, because I'm like, well, they can't all be like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, they could. I guess I don't really know.
And just like kind of the way the book's written, you're going along with Vin, so you start off seeing, life's hard for the ska. Then you get all this time with the nobles going to the balls, and you start forgetting about that just like she has, and then you just keep getting all these harsh reminders. Boy gets murdered, watching all these ska having to work in the streets, this whole story from Dox, just Just like Vin, the reader keeps getting reminded, yeah, shit's bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
I liked learning about everyone's personal lives a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really, a lot of characters kind of changed after this chapter because now I know they're married and they have a family or have a curious past.
This is the kind of stuff that gets me worried about every character who gets some of this attention, you know?
Yeah, like, who is it? The what, who's gonna
Why
get
you,
it? The one with a family,
yeah. Why are you telling me this guy has a beloved family for? What are you planning to do?
Yep. Like priming him for getting like horribly and tragically murdered or,
But I'm liking the
or
theme
killed.
of I'm liking the theme of how you're supposed to think about the elites in this kind of world, you know? Are you supposed to just assume they're all evil and just kill them all? Or are you supposed to see them as people just like the people you're trying to help, you know? So it's interesting to have Vin kind of at these balls like this, because if she wasn't, she would just be believing them and thinking, yeah, fuck them, you know? But having her kind of
Yeah.
dip a toe in that world makes her kind of forced to think about it in a way that she probably wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, it's very unique in that
Mhm,
like she's learning about both these things at the same time on both sides,
mhm. Yeah.
getting to know like Elend and the crew.
hmm And I was very curious here. Oh, you first.
I was just gonna say that's a fun perspective for us to get,
hmm
seeing through her eyes like that.
Yeah. I was very curious here what direction it was going to go because I could see it, you know. She starts empathizing with these people, and then the lesson is no, fuck them. They're all, I think somewhere they say, like, rotted out their core, you know. Or if it's, of course, you know, people are just people. You can't just slaughter everyone, you know. You never know. I mean, I know what my morality is, but I never know what the writers is going to be or the characters.
It's interesting too because we get introduced to a lot of ideas like how the terracemen get raised and the ska too. They like everyone is kind of raised and taught these lessons, so it's hard for them to ever rebel or ever like have uh contradicting thoughts to their
Yeah.
masters and things, So
Yeah.
then it's the nobles also have that. Like if they are
Yep.
all raised like that, then maybe they are all evil. Like, does that count?
hmm
Is there
It's an
a
interesting question, yeah.
Mhm. So
No, I
yeah.
absolutely agree.
And I also like getting into Docs a little bit because car going by. But getting into Docs a little bit because we've seen plenty of Kelsier and we know how much he hates the nobles and everything. But actually seeing like Docs just talking about it, they're just horrible people, all of them. If we could have a system where we just get rid of them all, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
Just seeing how he is just like Kelsier. He hates the nobles as much as Kelsier does.
hmm It's interesting because like she says, he's less passionate about it. It's a different kind of hatred than Kelsier has. His is like a kill them all, but this one is kind of mundane. Like that's just how they are. Like, you know, if you're like you don't get mad at a lion for, you know, eating animals. It's just how it is. But if you're the animals, you got to kill all the lions, you know? Like it's just a
Yeah.
fact of life.
He said that so
It's
matter-of-factly to Vin. Like, they're
yeah.
all like that. No
hmm
exceptions. They are all like that, Like,
hmm
that was a weird thing for him to say. Like, I
Well,
thought he was very sensible, too. Like, I thought he was more reasonable of a character. So for him to say
Yeah.
it like that was interesting.
But it's
he
hard
did
to
also,
argue with what he's saying too, you know, especially when he gives
Yeah,
that perspective.
plus he
that's
did
a
say
very
that immediately after talking about how the girl he loved was just taken, raped, and killed for no
Yeah.
reason whatsoever. So that maybe that probably helped make him more willing to say that at that moment.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that,
No way. I'd feel that if I was one of the ska,
No,
you know,
I'm
as
not
much
saying you wouldn't feel like that.
yeah. What
But
I
it's
think
just
in this life is different than what I would think in that life, you know. Yeah.
All right, so we'll go on to chapter 23 with the epigraph. I sleep but a few hours each night. We must press forward, traveling as much as we can each day. But when I finally lie down, I find sleep elusive. The same thoughts that trouble me during the day are only compounded by the stillness of night. And above all, I hear the thumping sounds from above, the pulsings from the mountain, drawing me closer with each beat.
The heck? It's like the Eye of Sauron calling him in. Like,
Yeah. I'm so curious to find out if this guy is crazy or the only sane person in the world. One of those two.
All right, so the chapter begins with Vin. She's at another ball talking with a group of nobles. And her date for the evening is a man called Elend Davenplu. And in the group, there's a lady Kliss is gossiping about how the noble houses are beginning to kill each other. And the one she's talking about is how it has to do with the killing Kelsier did a few chapters ago. It was directly because of that. I don't remember exactly the names. But while they're all talking, she's in this group. Vic keeps thinking about what Dockson says. And she is having a hard time keeping it together while being with all the nobles. Because she just keeps thinking that they all just go and kill and rape Ska all the time. And during this whole little meeting, the nobles bring an obligator over there to oversee them agreeing to meet the next day to play a game. And Vin's worried that the obligator will notice her, but he doesn't. And then she's also surprised at how the nobles really have the obligators oversee every single mundane thing that they do.
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah, what was that for? Just to witness them?
Yep, just to make it official. What was it? Because they were talking like, oh yeah, I'll meet you for this game tomorrow. Yeah, you said that before, but you never showed up. All right, here. They brings in the obligator and pretty much makes it official. Yep, I'm going to meet with them. So he kind of has to. Just bureaucracy and everything.
I see.
So it's kind of like, yep, just making like a contract. We'll meet tomorrow, and then just bringing it over a notary to stamp it.
Mm-hmm.
I see. The heck?
So weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Said before, I really get the vibe that Brandon Sanderson does not like bureaucracy that much.
Vin
Good
excuses
gossip.
herself for the evening and is about to leave when Kliss mentions that she has some good gossip. She says that the Inquisitors have hit twice as many Ska thieving crews in the past few months than they normally do, and they're not even taking any prisoners. They're just leaving them dead. And after Vin listens to that, then she goes to try to leave again. But this time, Shan Ilariel shows up. And she, does her usual thing. She insults Vin, and Vin's date doesn't defend her because he pretty much winds up in a position where either he takes Shan Ilariel's side and insults his date, or he takes Vin's side and insults a powerful house like the Ilariels. So instead, he just does nothing. And
Makes the coward choice. I like that.
Oh.
She seems to start thinking about these people even more poorly than she did before after what she was told, I think.
And then Shan takes Vin away to talk to her in private. Vin tells her that Elend has been avoiding her, but Shan says that maybe she overestimated Vin's competence. She wants Vin to look at Elend's books and tell her which ones he has been reading. Don't just look at the covers because they might be false covers either. Go inside and read the inside. And as Shan leaves, Vin knows that this is good, even with the insults, because this makes her a pawn in a great house's plan. And then next, Vin sees Elend and wants to run away, but she instead decides to go to talk to him. She goes up to him and she asks why he has been avoiding her, and he begins to give her some BS answer. When he notices that she is tearing up, but then he notices that she is starting to tear up and beginning to shake. Elend brings Vin outside, and she immediately asks him if he's ever slept with a Ska woman. Elend doesn't answer, and Vin says that it's true and that he's a monster. A tear rolls down Vin's face, and she wipes it with Spook's handkerchief, which is messing up her makeup.
I could not believe she just spilled that out so quickly. She seemed so young in this part to me.
I know.
To be so overwhelmed by her feelings like this.
It was so cute that her heart was just breaking there, and she was just letting down all the barriers. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that really got through to Elend, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he saw her as a
changed
real.
his tone. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is when I started to rethink Elend's character instead of just thinking he's this totally evil guy, obviously. Because when he let down his thing, she starts crying like that. He puts down his thing immediately and walks her out. I started thinking maybe he's on the level, because I think a lot of nobles would act nice, but would use it as an opportunity to get one up on somebody or to manipulate them into something,
Yeah, like he's not like a sociopath.
Yeah, well, we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I know this. You're talking about how young she is. Just brings back to earlier, I think last chapter when she was talking with Sazed about Spook. It's like, wait, Spook likes me, but he's like a kid. It's like he's 15, Vin. He's a year younger than you. I'm 17 now.
Yeah, I turned 17 last week. That was-
Yeah, it's like that's not much younger than you at all. Like, so cute.
All right, so back to the ball. So Ellen explains to Vin. He says that when he was 13 years old, his father brought him to a brothel because it was time to make him a man. Ellen didn't know that the woman would be killed afterward. And Vin asks how many more women after that Ellen has slept with, but he says none. Asks how nobles sleep with Ska woman, and Ellen estimates about a third. And Vin believes Ellen. And then at this time, Ellen notices the handkerchief that Vin has been using to wipe away the tears and asks who gave it to her. And Vin just tells him that it was a suitor. And so Vin asks once again why Ellen has been avoiding her. And he says that he isn't a fan of the company she has been keeping. Vin says that she has to because she isn't at the top of the political structure like he is. So she has to be talking with all these different people. And Vin tells Ellen that she used to talk to the plantation Ska back on her plantation and that they are just like them. She only lied to him before because she wanted to act like a proper noblewoman. Vin tells him the Ska are angry and they know about the disparity between them and the nobles.
Yeah, this is when I was like, Vin, shut the fuck up. Stop, stop. Because even though he was nice, I did not, I don't know this guy. I'm like, stop telling him all this information. I was really freaking out for benefit.
Yeah, I was like, you can't say that. You're breaking your cover.
Mm-hmm. But again, it just shows how young she is, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's okay. She has more of the stuff to leak.
Yeah, I know. She kept going and going and going. And I was like, Jesus, you better hope this guy's on the level.
All right, and then Vin's handkerchief now is just covered in makeup. So Ellen gives him hers. Gives her his. Vin tells Ellen that she has helped Ska, and she tells him about the underground movement network and about thieving crew. But she stops herself from telling him more because she has likely already said too much. So hey, at least she didn't tell him, oh yeah, and we have a crew. We're at this little cabinet tree spot. You can come hang out.
Yeah.
She did not. She stayed. She didn't do that. Go that far.
But she wanted. That's crazy. I was just praying for her here that he is not the worst thing he could be, especially when he's like, oh yeah, tell me more. That's interesting. Oh, you helped Scott? Well, that's illegal. Well, let me hear about that. I was like, God, no. We learn a bit about him in a second, but at this point, I didn't know that stuff. And I'm like, oh God, no.
Oh, just imagine the reaction if she had like gone and told him about Clubs' shop and stuff, like Doc's and Kelsier's reaction. Oh, don't worry,
Yeah.
I told Ellen Venture he's gonna come over tomorrow.
All right, well, we're fucked. Let's just turn ourselves in.
At that point, that might push Kelsier being like, all right, Ellen has to die tonight.
Yeah. And I wouldn't blame him, honestly.
All right, but now, and then Ellen excuses himself, because he has a meeting with some others. And Vin tries to give him back his handkerchief, but he says no. He tells her that the other suitor might have a lead, but Ellen will not pass up the competition. And then Vin goes to meet with Sazin and tells him that she wants to follow Ellen to this meeting. So Sazin gives her permission to use the physical allomancy, and she follows Ellen out into the night. At the meeting, Ellen is meeting with 4 other young noblemen, and they are talking about how they can make changes once they are older. Ellen thinks that they could put pressure on the Lord Ruler and force him to change how things are.
Here's when I started to be like, oh, thank God, he's just a naive noble. Or he's in really deep.
I was like, maybe that can work.
What's that?
I was like, maybe that can work. Maybe that's a better way to change things.
No way. It's been 1,000 years. You think no young person's ever had these thoughts before?
Well, he's in a very powerful house, though.
Yeah. But they also say the houses have never been weaker, too.
Because like, their parents are all fighting, though.
Yeah.
They're saying
why
if
do you
they
think they're
all... Huh?
Why do you think the parents are all fighting? I'm sure the
Kelsier's
Lord Ruler
killing them.
watches. Well, that too. But I'm sure the Lord Ruler watches for when houses get strong and then, does whatever he's got to do to make sure they don't stay strong.
Oh, Kelsier's helping with that.
Yeah, but I'm sure this is a long game, is what I'm.
Yeah. I just wonder if this is
Yeah,
another option is all.
I just don't believe these are the first. Well, Kelsier even said, people get these thoughts and feelings from time to time. It doesn't ever go anywhere. Because even so, even if this alliance comes through, how many of those 5 guys are going to want to change things when they see how much harder life is going to be for them, how their lifestyle is going to change, compared to just keep things the same once they've gotten some more power.
Yeah, they're benefiting from it right now, and they might lose things if they do
It's
this.
easy to be a revolutionary when it's all just LARPing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think
I'm just saying.
it was mentioned that only 2 of them are actually like heirs to the house. The other ones are like second sons, so
Yeah,
they wouldn't
yeah.
be as powerful.
Let's see.
This is like when you have a bunch of like rich college kids start up their little communism club, they don't mean, a lot of people really like to pretend they want to change the world, but when push comes to shove, they're going to back down and get in their comfy rich situation, At least that's what I think.
Especially when they come face to face with their god.
Well, yeah, that part doesn't usually factor in the real world. But in a fictional world, yeah, that would be a hard.
All right, so then Kelsier surprises Vin. He had arrived earlier in the day, and he was here listening in on the meeting. He has
Yeah, sitting
spied
up
on
there like Spider-Man above her, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was so funny. Like, hey, Vin, what's up? Like, what the hell?
That was funny. I like that.
And he explains to her that he has spied on a few of Elend's meetings, and they're all the same. Kelsier thinks nothing of it. It is just young men saying words and making alliances. But Kelsier does ponder about how they could use them, and that these nobles seem more open-minded than the others.
Coming from Kelsier, I wonder what that means for their potential futures.
And that's the end of this chapter. Anything else from it you want to go over?
Yeah, I liked getting to hear their conversation, because, I've wondered about Elend this whole time. But getting to hear them talk about stuff, it did seem as Kelsier talks, like, and how he talked before, they're saying all the things, you don't believe they mean it, but it's interesting to see that he is not as on top of things and cool as he tries to portray himself to Vin earlier. He's just wandering in the dark like everyone else. Especially the part where he seemed really naive about how the plantation Scott are actually smart or not, He seemed really genuinely interested when she said that they were just like everyone else,
It makes him seem really young in these parts here.
And also how he was so impressed. She even helps Ska. We should let her in, Like
saying the same thing
Yeah,
that
saying
Vin said to Kelsier about him.
Yeah. But that, she does more for this cause than he actually does, it seems.
So now do you think that Vin will do what Channel Ariel says and now just hand over all of Elend's books to her?
No. I think that would be a foolish idea, and it also makes me really curious what she's up to and what she's trying to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, she knows about what he's kind of doing and stuff. And if she's got a plan to try to take down a big house for her own power, that'd be pretty horrifying. Especially if he's so reckless to bring those things around,
Yeah. She might blackmail him and make him marry her or something.
Or just be Vin's heel turn. She decides, you know what? I'm getting too close to the nobles. I need to cut off Elend, turn him over to the others.
Could be. Something horrible enough could happen to convince her of that. I'm never overruling Vin becoming the villain of the story.
Vin stands for villain.
No, I can't even go with that. That doesn't make any sense.
That's our clue, Justin.
Yeah, quite a clue.
I don't think that's a clue.
I'm confused what your brain's even doing up there, Sheta.
Putting all the clues together.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep. I have a whole board with linking things.
Oh god.
It's all coming together.
All right, well, we'll leave the ball and go on to chapter 24. So, epigraph. In the end, I must trust in myself. I've seen men who have beaten from themselves the ability to recognize truth and goodness. and I do not think I am one of them. I can still see the tears in the young child's eyes and feel pain in his suffering.
I'm sorry. This part. Oh my god, this part. Go on. I'm sorry.
If I ever lose this, then I will know that I've passed beyond hope of redemption.
Bro, when you're talking like that, it is too late. You are too far gone already. That was a horrifying thing to read and an absolutely hilarious thing to hear said, just matter of fact, like it makes sense, like it's not evil talk.
Like, yeah, I'm not evil. Like,
I can still tell when a young child cries when he's beaten. I can still recognize the tears. I've seen men who don't recognize them anymore.
It doesn't say when he's beaten. It says suffering. So it could be
Yeah,
like walking through like a
even
war
better.
ravaged place and seeing a child like hungry and sad. It could be something like that.
It very well could, but I know what kind of system this guy's built up, so.
also, I'm like, most people don't have to think about that. You just know it.
Yeah, they don't have to make themselves remember, right?
If you're like, okay, I'm not evil, I'm good, you know, like I still care about these things. But...
Yeah, well, most people aren't prophesized to be the hero of ages.
That's true too. That doesn't help, that's for sure.
All right, so chapter 24 begins, and the crew is having a meeting at Clubs' shop with pretty much everyone there. Kelsier, Vin, Sazed, Ham, Breeze, Doc, Spook, and Clubs. And they are having a pretty good time. There's just a lot of back and forth with them all talking and joking. Dockson is flabbergasted to see that Hammond had ripped the sleeves off of his uniform. And she's also shocked when he sees that Vin's dress is all messed up from her sneaking around earlier in the night, because both of those cost money. One of my favorite parts was when, Bree shows up, sits down, just tells Spook, get me a drink. He gets him one, and then Spook, he begins to talk in his Eastern street slang along with Kelsier and Hammond just to annoy Breeze. And Breeze is just
that was disorienting.
And then Breeze is just like, what the hell? And then Docs joins in as well. And even Clubs has a little bit of a smile on his face. And it's this time that Vin, at a door, she kind of sees a vision of herself on the other side of the door watching this. Kind of going back to that night earlier in the book where she was watching the rest of the crew having a good time and wondering like if she could ever do that. And in her mind, she agrees with Kelsier. This is better. And there's actually, in Brandon Sanderson's annotations he put online, he did give a translation of all that Eastern street slang.
Really?
Yes.
Because I was having trouble following it.
So I'll read the original, and then I'll go and read the translation. Let me find where the... All right, so it starts off with Breeze, talking. He's such a fine lad. I barely have to nudge him allomantically. If only the rest of you ruffians were so accommodating. Then Spook, nicing the knot on the plane without. Breeze, I have no idea what you said, child, so I'm simply going to pretend it was coherent, then move on. Then Kelsier joins in. Losing the stress on the nip. Nodding without the needing of care. Spook, riding the ryle of the rids to the right. And Breeze is just like, what are you two babbling about? Spook, wasing the was of brightness. Nip the having of wishing of this. Kelsier, ever wasing the doing of this. Hammond, ever wasing the wish of having the have. Brighting the wish of wasing the not. And then Breeze looks over to Dockson. I believe our companions have finally lost their mind, dear friend. And then Dockson shrugs, then with a completely straight face, he says, wasing not the of wasing is.
God.
So
I felt like I was reading an Alice in Wonderland poem for that part. I was so confused.
All right. So here's how it goes. Hit the translation. So you start off with Breeze, if only the rest of you ruffians were so accommodating. Then Spook. It's not nice to play with people like that. Kelsier. Oh, don't worry about what he does to you. He's not worth your concern. Spook. You're probably right. Breeze. What are you two babbling about? Spook. He wants to be clever. He pushes people around because he wants to prove that he is clever. Kelsier. He's always been like that. Ham. He's insecure. I think he worries that he's really not that clever. And then Docs, they say in there that pretty much what he said was nonsense.
Funny.
Spook said he said something but didn't mean anything.
Oh, did Spook speak normally there?
Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, he's learning how to speak, normal. So he's slowly been getting better at that. Kelsier asks Vin if there is any news from the ball, and Vin tells him that House Tekiel is vulnerable. Kelsier says they will likely move out of the city in order to recoup their losses, so that removes one great house. And, since the great houses have started killing each other at night, so that is one step removed from open war. And they will likely continue to have balls up until the war begins. They use those in order to strengthen alliances and the whatnot. And Vin asks Kelsier if she can spend tomorrow with Ham to learn about Pewter. Kelsier is confused why, but he allows her to. He tells Breeze that he wants him to take over for Yeden with the army in a few months, which shock Breeze. He usually gives orders from the background, not in the front. Kelsier wants Breeze to take over because he'll want Yeden to come back into town in order to prepare his contacts. And then the next day, Vin and Hammond are on their way to the Luthadel garrison. And Vin is acting as a ska once again and wonders who is the real her, the noblewoman Valette or Vin the urchin. And then Vin asks Ham where his family is, and he says they're in a town outside the city. His wife is a seamstress there, and he gives them money, but his wife keeps up the seamstress stuff. That way there's no question about where she's just getting money. And he needs them away because if the ministry found him, then they would kill all of his children because all of them would have noble blood too and could potentially make more aliments. Finn asks him why he does it, and Ham says that as a thug he makes good money and he's able to give it to his family so that way they can live well. Next, Vin asks about Kelsier, and she asks if he always hated the nobles. Ham nods and says that it is worse now. Vin is worried because it seems like Kelsier wants to kill all of them. Ham's also worried because of how Kelsier is making himself out to be a holy man. Breeze and Dockson are also worried, and the three of them plan on confronting Kelsier about it to get him to reel it in. Ham says that he means well, but he tends to go overboard. All right, so next, Vin and Ham arrive at the garrison. Ham is known there because he spars with them at times. Most of the garrison are Ska, who have sold themselves to the Lord Ruler for money for their families. Vin asks how Ham can be on friendly terms to them, since he will betray them, but Ham says that they are mercenaries, and they all know that these kind of things will happen eventually.
It's interesting to get that perspective too. Especially from somebody like Vin, who does seem a little more, hopeful maybe, for things to have a nice resolution. But just that pragmatic, yep, I'm their friend, but I'm going to have to kill him, I always think is so interesting. And we all know that, and no one's going to be mad about that. Just the way it is.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that I didn't know how much Ham was making and that he's a different level. He wasn't like a plantation scar or anything. His life was always pretty comfortable, and like I wonder if that's why he has kind of a more neutral opinion about the nobles and about all this. Like he's able to think like that because maybe his life wasn't as hard.
And he probably he sees that side more often too, right?
Yeah, everyone has such a different and unique perspective on all this. Like his, hanging out with these other ska that are just trying to make their way too. Like they're not quite enslaved, but they got a little bit of independence.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of in the middle, middle class maybe. This is really unique to see that too.
Yeah,
everyone's just trying to make their way.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to survive, doing the best they can.
Yeah. But he didn't seem too happy when he's like, they're willing to work for him,
Yeah.
That's why it's not going to matter at the end,
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then Ham explains some things about Pewter with Vin. He tells her that you don't want to burn it all the time. A lot of younger people, that's what they do. They just try to flare it the entire time and just waste it all and become exhausted. By burning Pewter only at certain times, you can last longer in a fight, and your opponent also won't know your limits. Ham also says that he burns it for more than strength. He'll burn it to help him, if he has a stumble or to speed up a dodge. And he tells her that, when he's fighting, for her to burn bronze. That way she can sense when he burns it and when he doesn't. So she knows how to try to use it.
Interesting. It seems like what Marsh, is that his name? Kelsier's brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what he said to her about how people don't look into how to use that power the way he does really got to her, because what she's thinking about Ham here, he explicitly does this only. He's probably better at it. It seems like that had a huge influence on her that I think is going to wind up helping her quite a bit as the book goes on.
I think it was from Marsh and also from watching Bree's work too.
Yeah.
And then at this time, Ham notices that things are odd with the garrison. He meets with Captain Surtees, and Vin burns tin in order to listen in. And she overhears that an army of Ska rebels have attacked the whole steppe garrison. This army must have come from the caves, and so now the Luthadel garrison is going to go there in order to help out. And Vin thinks in horror. This means that their army is exposed. The army isn't ready and was supposed to take out the Luthadel garrison quietly and quickly, not straight out. They are going to get massacred. And that's the end of the chapter.
For a second, I was wondering, is this Kelsier's secret plan he was hiding last time? Is he just going to jumpstart everything ahead of time? I was glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I thought that for a second too. Because last we heard, he had secrets among secrets that he wasn't telling Ham and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this a secret? Like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
No, definitely not. No.
All right. Anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
No, nothing for me.
No.
All right. On to the last chapter for the day. Chapter 25. That was the last. All right. So, starting with the epigraph. No man dies by my hand or command, except that I wish there had been another way. Still, I kill them. Sometimes, I wish that I weren't such a cursed realist.
Oh, Lord Ruler, you and your shenanigans. It starts and it's like, no man dies by my hand. I'm like, oh, that's good. But that I wish I didn't have to. I'm like, oh, God, no. If only I wasn't a realist. Oh, like, God, no.
Like, why did you be like that?
Again, I do think it's going to turn out that there is some reason things are run this way. Something we don't know about, but I can't imagine what that would be.
All right, so chapter begins. Kelsier is filling up his pack with water jugs while telling Breeze to go check on the places that they had recruited and to warn them that the ministry may soon come after them. He tells Docs that the shop should be okay, but to still have 3 Tin Eyes on watch just in case. And he has Ham go back to the garrison, help them out and to be an informant. And Hammond, he tells him, all right, but I'm not going to betray them. I'm not going to kill men that think that I'm there to help them. But Kelsier's like, well, just hopefully you don't kill too much of our army. And now Kelsier is about to leave to go after the army, but Vin has her pack, and she says she's going with him. Kelsier allows this, and he gives Vin 5 pewter beads and tells her to swallow all of them and to bring a lot of water. He has her burn the pewter, and they run. And pretty much they do what's called a pewter drag, where they just run and flare pewter constantly. So, and when you start getting low on it,
is described. Yeah,
keep eating more pewter. Just keep going.
How this is described from her her perspective is so interesting. It sounded so awful. Sounded like running the longest marathon you've ever run, but for some reason you can keep going.
Yeah, this sounded ridiculous. It was like 13 hours or something. I don't know.
16.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
Because they run all night at top speed while flaring their pewter. At first, Vin doesn't think it is so bad, but as time wears on, she feels as if she's going to die. Her body's exhausted, but the pewter covers up the exhaustion, which allows her to keep going. It's normally a 2-week trip by canal, but they make it in 16 hours. And then finally they stop. Kelsier tells Vin to keep burning pewter because once she stops, she's gonna collapse and pass out. They burn tin and they can hear a battle. They go to check it out and they find the Ska army being slaughtered by another army that came from the Valtrox camp. Kelsier, watching it, he figures that the Ska army probably defeated the whole steppe garrison since that one only has about 1,000 troops, but then they were ambushed by the Valtrox army while they were trying to get back to the caves. And then they witness as the Ska army tries to throw down their weapons and surrenders, but the soldiers don't stop and they keep killing them. Kelsier's about to jump into the fight, but Vin grabs him. She says that he cannot stop an entire army. They aren't invincible. And this gets Kelsier to stop. And she says there might still be some men left in the cave. So they go down to the caves, and Kelsier doesn't spot or sense anything and figures that everyone is dead. But Vin does manage to see a small light. They go deeper in the caves, and they find Captain Demu. By seeing Kelsier, Demu figures that their army has succeeded. But, Kelsier, he asks them how many are left, and Demu answers 2,000. They had managed to recruit 7,000 Ska before this happened. Demu explains that the ones that stayed felt like Yeden was being rash, and so they stayed behind to stay loyal to Kelsier. And Kelsier tells them that they have to leave right now.
Fucking Yeden. Should have known.
It's just like Kelsier says. It's his fault.
I don't buy that for a second. This is all Yeden's dumb bastard. He was always dumb from the beginning of his time here. I was so mad at him. Too much of his own Kool-Aid.
And you did get to witness Yeden throughout the story being like, oh, these Ska, I don't want to be working with Kelsier, but I have to. Then by the end, yeah, Kelsier! Totally on Team Kelsier. You're awesome.
Yeah.
You can give us powers.
Dumb bastard. I was so mad at him.
Yeah.
Of course, Kelsier blames himself, but I'm like, no, dude. That is on this dumb.
Yeah. What is, like, why would you do that? Like, is he crazy?
They said he was irrational.
Yeah, but, like, that's just, I don't know. Like, to do that, like, without telling anyone, too, like, it seems a little bit, that's a pretty big deal to do.
All right, then, so everyone in the caves, they leave. And at that night, Kelsier, he's sitting on a stump while Vin's sleeping nearby. And he wonders why Yeden and the army would do this, and he blames himself. He had promised his power. He had promised them powers, and it made Yeden think they could take the final empire head on. Kelsier had sent a scout out to check out the battlefield, and they found Yeden's head along with several of the officers' heads on spears.
Deserved.
Ugh.
I feel no sympathy for Yeden here. He had no right calling himself. I mean, even before they talk about him, like, it's not like he's the best for the job. He's just the only guy who has the job,
But we just found out a chapter or two ago that he has a family.
Yeah, well, should have seen this coming then.
Yeah.
Told you. Usually I feel a lot of sympathy for people who get their heads on this.
Well, when he gets so many other people killed and ruins the plan. Like,
If he would have survived, I would have killed him myself.
All right, and then an old man comes over to talk to Kelsier. And the man is Menace, who, if people don't remember, that was the old guy that Kelsier had met at Tressing's plantation back in the prologue.
I was so shocked to see that guy again. I never thought we would.
Oh, I know. He's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was like, do we?
Yeah, I don't remember you either.
It's like, oh my gosh, I really liked him. So
yeah, he was our first Ska perspective guy. It was really interesting.
All right, and Menace explains to Kelsier that Yeden had wanted to get some battle experience for the army and thought a night raid on Holstep Garrison would be clever. But Kelsier notes that exposing the army like that made the army useless. Even if they had succeeded and got back to the caves, once it was known that they had an army, then the army there's no point in having it anymore. And Menace asks Kelsier what will become of them, and he says that they will split up the groups and sneak them into Luthadel, where then they can integrate themselves in with the other Ska. And Kelsier says aloud that he did this to the army, but Menace says that he gave the men motivation, but they did this themselves. Menace notes that Kelsier should be proud. He managed to build up a large army, which then managed to kill the Holstep Garrison. That's more than any rebellion has done in decades, maybe centuries. Kelsier says that, just getting rid of one garrison doesn't matter. He had planned to overthrow the final empire, and Menace finds this skeptical. This was never about winning or losing. They were just there to resist and fight against the Lord Ruler. No one ever expected to win because the Lord Ruler cannot be defeated. And he gives Kelsier another piece of advice. Know when to quit. Now is the time to walk away.
This part when he says, the only purpose to this was to resist was so sad. And then he goes on to say, hey, at least we did that. We just had the biggest rebellion ever, eh?
That was sad.
And then as Menace leaves, Kelsier thinks about how this is exactly what he's fighting against. He has to somehow fight against a millennium of conditioning. A society where people would consider such a massive defeat as a victory. Kelsier whispers that this wasn't a victory and that he'll show them a victory. Kelsier smiles as a defiance to the Lord Ruler. He wasn't going to walk away. He wasn't finished yet, not by far. And that's the end of part 3.
Hey, Sheta, it's a good thing you read that, huh? That would have been a bad thing to miss, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it would. That would be probably one of the worst things to miss. If you...
Agreed.
Yes, Justin forgot to read this chapter. We had to wait.
No. Don't spread misinformation.
I don't know, Justin, you keep saying, yeah, Sheta, aren't you glad you read this? You read this? But we know that she listens to the audiobook, so you're kind of exposing yourself.
There you go. Holes in your argument.
Damn it, you're right. I was just testing.
Anything else in this final chapter of the day that you wanted to go over?
It's interesting that they keep putting Kelsier through these situations where he has to change and he has to be more convicted to the cause in a different way. Like, I do not know where this book's going to go in the end with that character. Because, like, this is his, he has a whole new reason to fight now after seeing what the old guy says, where before he was realizing, he had to do it in a different way, this and that. I kind of at a time thought that the ending was going to be, he was going to just be the bad guy, But now I think they're working him through from being just a violent revolutionary to somebody who's convicted to the cause to the highest degree physically possible. Like,
he's just going to double down every time.
Mm-hmm. Like, he's probably going to be more heroic by the end of it, Well, we'll see.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh, I thought he was going to just... Okay, I hope so. I thought you were going to say he was going to get evil and stuff. Like, get as bad as they get and stuff,
I think he already was. That's what I'm saying,
Oh, okay.
He's happy to kill them all. He doesn't care, But this could just bring that out in him more, too. That is true as well.
But I guess he's getting influenced by all these, kind of good people, like the old man and Vin and stuff like that.
The old man is he's not a bad person, but he's not a good person to be influenced by. He's given up so much,
Yeah, he's given up, but he had all these. He's nice,
Well, he's also not dumb. He was the one who had them prepare the bed rolls. I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Then what we'll do is we'll go on once again. I'll ask questions and you will give answers. So what's Finn's response gonna be to Spook and Elend giving her those handkerchiefs?
I think that she's going to like Elend, but he's gonna pull out at the last second and prove himself to just be another noble, and then Spook's going to die, and she's not going to get anybody at the end. That's my current working theory. I don't think that Elend's going to be helpful in the end. I don't think he's had enough character work for me to believe he's going to be. I think everything's going to go wrong, and it's going to be Elend's fault. That's it.
Like he's going to be, he's going to end up being weak.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Like, is Edwin a nice person like that? Has good intentions, but I hope not. He's I hope he's cool.
Well, yeah, that'd be fun too. A rebellion from multiple sides.
Yeah.
And Sheta, your response to how Vin will respond to the handkerchiefs?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I wish that Spook's finally showed himself a little bit at the party and stuff. He kind of spoke up a little bit. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's gonna get more character, but I hope he does. My hope is that he starts to reveal himself more as heroic and more mature than Vin realized. And then Elend will seem less desirable when he reveals that he is weak.
Oh, I just say one thing and I've sold you on the Elend's a pussy thing, huh?
Well, I I just don't believe it either. He's too different from Vin. Vin's had a hard life and stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think someone like that could really relate.
Are they willing to have a hard life? Question for their beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
How many people are,
Yeah.
in a dangerous life,
Mm-hmm. If he proves himself, then yeah.
Oh, then
More
he'll
power.
have her in a second. No problem,
Yeah.
If he proves himself, easy.
Yep. I feel like with how Brandon Sanderson writes, he'll end up being a heroic good guy.
Hey.
The guy of her dreams. I think that'll be a better story than her and Spook just getting together. Two sad orphan kids. That's not very interesting.
All right, so, oh, yeah. So in this situation, out of Elend and Spook, which one's the Gale and which one's the PETA?
What the heck, Joe? I love it.
Well, that's a good question.
Well, it's obviously Spook is Gale because that's the guy in her current life that is kind of the same life she's grown up with, and then PETA represents like a different life in a different world that she has to share. That's the glamorous one where they're in the capital, so yeah, that'll be Elend.
I think it's going to
But
be the opposite. Yeah.
oh,
I think it's the
Gale is
opposite in
the
that
political
Fuchs,
one, so
yeah, is involved with this stuff, and Elend is outside of it all,
Mhm.
Fuchs is the obvious, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I only thought of that because I thought of love triangles. And I remember I never read the books. I remember the movies, hearing some people talking about love triangles, even though there really shouldn't have been one because people could, at that point, the books were already out. So you could have already known who would win.
Dude, people don't read.
Yeah. Another question. So what exactly do you think happened with the Lord Ruler to make those terracemen in order to make him hate the terracemen and ferrochemists so much?
I think that the Terracemen, they either hold knowledge of the deepness, maybe that was the old religion or something, had something to do with that, and he needs to stamp it from existence because it's just so dangerous, he thinks, Um, yeah, that's my theory, actually. I think it's that simple. Or he doesn't like them because they can hold on to information longer, and he is trying to stamp out information from the people, so he cannot have them out there just because if he lives for so long and he says this is what happened, everyone's forced to believe him. But if you've got these people who everyone knows can hold on to this ancient knowledge, then he's got a competition for what the truth is about history.
a loose end too.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah, because there's probably ones out there that are holding on to something he doesn't want the people to know about, which I think has to do with the deepness. I think that, yeah, I think they're involved with that in some way.
It's just like the missing years in One Piece.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Sheta, your thoughts?
Why he's afraid of the terracemen?
Yeah, like why? What happened to make him just try to hunt down all the ferrochemists and be so mean to the terracemen and try to control their population with eugenics and everything and breeding programs?
Probably thinking the same thing as Justin with them. He's scared of their abilities, so I really want to know what this dark secret is, though. Because I really feel like he is hiding something, or there's a big conspiracy.
All right, and then I guess really the only other question to ask is what's going to happen to the plan now that they lost their army?
Gosh, I don't know.
Just going to be a more desperate version of the plan they had. More reckless, more at risk, more exciting for us, the reader.
Yeah, they're gonna have to change gears, and maybe Kelsier does have to recruit Elend into the fold, work with the nobles.
Oh, that's true too.
Like he's gonna have to look at different assets and stuff like that, and find a new angle, a new plan.
All right. All right, then. Any other theories or predictions that you two just want to throw out there?
No batshit insane theories for me this.
They're not that crazy. Why? I can't believe that this happened though. I have one that's kind of
Whenever they explain a plan, it never actually happens,
Yeah, I can't believe that. I can't believe the army is not gonna end up doing anything.
Well, they might use some of it.
I'm a little worried about Ham because he said he wasn't gonna fight those guys that he's with. I feel like something's gonna happen with that, where he has to make a choice, and he ends up not making it, or not helping in a way that would help our team.
All right. So then next, I guess we'll just move on to the characters and quotes of the week.
My favorite character this week. Oh,
I was just gonna say. So let's go with characters first.
okay. My favorite character this week is less born as Spook. I thought he was so cute with the freaking handkerchief and blushing and like confessing his feelings basically to Vin about how he has a crush on her. And I really liked that he kind of came out during the hangout and stuff and talked back to Breeze a little bit. That was all cute and fun.
I think my favorite character this time was Elend. I liked getting to know which way he was leaning on this stuff and whether he's just a pathetic little noble LARPing who's going to back down at the end or whether he's going to be a cool, serious, badass guy who's going to be for it. I find either way interesting, and I'm glad to know that that's how he thinks a bit. And it was interesting to see some of what at least appeared like his genuine feelings about Vin.
Yeah, but I'm going with Vin. I just felt it was really interesting to read, all the stuff with her thoughts, like her just being like, wait, oh my god, people evil? Are they just murdering everyone in my mind? Just seeing her going through that in her mind and then working through it when she's talking to Ellen, breaking down into her. Clearly, her romantic feelings she has for him is now conflicting with these thoughts that he could be raping and killing people that she knows. And then after all that's completed, then she sees like herself like having a good time with the crew, realizing, yeah, this is better and what her past life used to be watching in. And at the end, she's the one that she stops Kelsier from going in and getting himself killed against the other. Like if she did not go
that
with
part
him,
was good, yeah.
if she did not go with him to the caves, if she stayed back in Luthadel, Kelsier would be dead now.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, she saved him.
She just had a lot, like a huge emotional roller coaster for Vin, and just I felt like each chapter had something interesting going on in her mind. All right, so now we'll go on to quotes.
Okay, I'll do mine first. Mine is during the party get together. Vin smiled. Even Dockson's complaints seemed good-natured. Club sat quietly by the wall, looking as curmudgeonly as ever, but Vin caught a sight of a slight smile on his lips. Kelsier rose and opened another bottle of wine, refilling cups as he told the crew about the Ska's army's preparations. Vin felt contented. As she sipped at her wine, she caught sight of the open doorway leading into the darkened workshop. She imagined for a mere moment that she could see a figure out in the shadows, a frightened wisp of a girl, untrusting, suspicious. The girl's hair was ragged and short, and she wore a simple, untucked, dirty shirt and a pair of brown trousers. Vin remembered the second night in Club's shop when she had stood out in the dark workroom watching the others share late-night conversation. Had she really been that girl? One who would hide in the cold darkness, watching the laughter and friendship with a hidden envy, but never daring to join it? Kelsier made some particularly witty comment, drawing laughter from the entire room. "You're right, Kelsier," Vin thought with a smile. "This is better." I thought this part would never come with her finally having this part come through, because this is one of my favorite parts when she was kind of spying on them at the beginning. I thought it was so sad and cute, and like she was really different. I never thought this part would come where she got to be part of the party and the laughter and friendship. Like, so I was really happy that she got to do that.
Yeah, that was a good part. I liked it as well.
Another thing I noticed with that whole section is that I can't remember if it was the line in there or just earlier in the chapter when it first happens, but she drinks wine that someone else gave her throughout the entire. Before that in the book, she would never drink anything that somebody else gave her. She would always have to pour it herself.
Yeah, untrusting. This part felt really nice. I could see it being directed by like Joss Whedon or James Gunn, like a little fun family friend moment. Even the grumpy guys like having a little smile. Like, it's really fun.
No, you do not want Joss Whedon to direct it, because then your favorite character will die.
What?
That is true, Sheta.
Joss Whedon, you'll always be watching it, but then he'll also pick the most heartbreaking character death possible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
And
no!
It will always be
Yeah.
well written. You'll always watch it and be like,
Mhm.
well, that was good. It just sucked.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no. Okay, then I'll pick James Gunn.
Well, Mistborn, Sheta, he's gone.
No, don't say that.
Shouldn't have said that. You just made it happen.
Oh my god.
My favorite is a bit less emotional. It's when Breeze says, everything costs money. But what is money? A physical representation of the abstract concept of effort? Then he goes on talking, and Kelsier responds a bit later. By the way, Dux, I'm going to need a few physical representations of the concept of effort myself. I just thought that was too... I loved when Breeze said that, because you're like, yeah, of course, he's all blah, blah philosophy. So when Kelsier uses that as a joke, I thought it was so funny. Or not Breeze,
Yeah, Ham.
Yeah, not Breeze, sorry.
Yeah,
I just love that part too much.
That was good.
Then when Bree shows up later, it's just Ham's like, hey, I thought of a bunch of new questions to ask you. Great. Yeah, mine will be more depressing. You're letting them dupe you, Vin, Dockson said. Things like this are less visible in the cities because of whorehouses, but the murders still happen. Some brothels use women of poor but noble birth. Most simply kill off their ska whores periodically to keep the Inquisitors placated. Vin felt a little weak. I know about the brothels, Docs. My brother always threatened to sell me to, but just because brothels exist doesn't mean that all men go to them. There are lots of workers who don't visit the ska whorehouses. Noble men are different, Vin, Dockson said sternly. They're horrible creatures. Why do you think I don't complain when Kelsier kills them? Why do you think I'm working with him to overthrow the government? You should ask some of those pretty boys you dance with how often they've slept with a ska woman they knew would be killed a short time later. They've all done it at one point or another. Vin looked down. They can't be redeemed, Vin, Dockson said. He didn't seem as passionate about the topic as Kelsier. He merely seemed resigned. I don't think Kel will be happy until they're all dead. I doubt we have to go that far, or even that we can. But I, for one, would be more than happy to see their society collapse. Like I said earlier, just getting the insight into Dockson, seeing how he hates the nobles as much as Kelsier, and how he just feels like, that they're just horrible people and there's nothing redeemable about them.
Yeah, I didn't expect that from Docs.
Yeah,
You
that was one of my
yeah.
favorite parts.
Okay. All right. Anything else about these 4 chapters, as a whole that you two wanted to talk about or go over before we finish up?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't believe the range of emotions that we get put through for these. Like, we get introduced to a kind of more lighthearted, fun love triangle with Mistborn and Elend and Vin. Like, that's all just kind of cute and fun. And we also get, like, our Ska rebel army is now, like, not a thing, and our plan is exposed. Also, Vin's crush may be raping and killing Ska women. Like those are like just such drastic differences, it's just really, yeah. And then we get them having fun, drinking wine, like all these cute things, like very, yeah, big range of emotions. I like it.
All right. So, chapters for next week then. This will be a little bit different and weirder, but it all makes sense because we're going to read a short story and then 2 chapters. So, what you'll need to do is go back to that Arcanum Unbounded, that book of short stories, and you'll want to read in there short story called The 11th Metal.
Ooh.
It's about the length of a normal chapter of this book, but that's you want to read The 11th Metal, but do not read the postscript. Once it's done and it goes into the postscript, stop.
Oh no.
Make sure
Sometimes
to read
I can't stop it.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, because it'll pretty much
Do
just be
not.
going into writings of Brandon Sanderson where he's talking about, why he wrote the story and stuff, but Yeah, you do not read that. Just read the short story itself.
This is why I killed this character.
Yeah, I know everyone was shocked when I murdered the entire main cast at the end of the Final Empire. The next book, I brought in a completely new set of characters.
Oh my gosh.
No, replaced with the nobles and the Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
I bet
They
you didn't
win
see
it.
it coming when I revealed Kelsier was the Lord Ruler like that.
Yeah. I'm scared. Why even have us be close to that kind of spoiler?
Be close to it.
Well,
Yeah, I'm scared.
it's
I
just,
accidentally read things.
but like I said, it's. Let me grab it. See exactly. It's not right away in it. It's not like it's gonna say it right at that point.
It's gonna be like a comic where like there's a big spoiler on the next page, but you
Yeah.
can't not look at it. Like
Yeah.
I hate that. I was like, God damn it! Like
Yeah, I just consider that bad comic writing personally.
yeah.
You have
Like,
to know that you're gonna see it in the corner of your eye.
Okay, 11th Metal. Yeah, you should know because you'll hear postscript. Then it's just talking like this short piece was originally written blah blah blah.
Okay.
If you're absolutely worried about it, then you can always just read the physical copy instead of you can always read the physical copy instead of listening to the audiobook for that one part. Because the postscript's on a completely different page. You have to flip.
Let's see. Okay.
She'll still find a way to read it by accident.
Or,
I
She'll
will.
manage
I'm
it
just gonna
somehow.
check. I'm just gonna check to make sure that I read the whole thing, and then I'll like accidentally see a word. Like, yeah, it's okay.
But yeah.
I have a way to wash my brain of spoilers. So
but yeah,
Called
so
hard
that's what we're.
drugs.
yeah, LSD.
Yeah.
And then after you read that, then read chapters 26 and 27 of the Final Empire.
All right.
So this most likely will be the only time we ever do something like this. We're putting the short story in there along with some chapters, but I have reasonings why, and it helps split up the next couple weeks of the podcast easy. But yeah, once again, go to the Arcanum Unbounded book, read the 11th Metal, and then read chapters 26 and 27 of the Final Empire.
And do not read the postscript.
Yeah, do not read the postscript.
Okay.
All right. So after going through all that stuff, now let's just go into time to plug it up.
Plug it up.
Well,
Sounds cool.
nice.
I don't like it.
I don't like that word. Can we use something else? Can we say introduce your stuff you have that you have posted somewhere?
No, the
Yeah.
word plug is fine.
Okay.
I just
I'll
don't want to
just
plug
say-
it up. That's all.
All right. We'll stop plugging it up. We'll grab a plunger and get that out of there. All right.
There we go.
Ew. I'm not gonna do that.
All right, Sheta, time. All right, let's give your plunged out plugs.
Oh my gosh. All right. I just have my art on Instagram under my name, Sheta_low. And then I have cosplay pictures and outfits on Mermaid Machete at Mermaid Machete.
At Instagram.com. Did you
At
almost say that?
Instagram.com. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's it.
You want to find me, you just hit up Profanity Beaver on whatever social media you like. Even if I'm not there, do it anyways. Maybe you'll find something. Good luck.
Really? Sounds like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you got to search for me. I don't make it easy. I play hard to
Yeah.
get.
I'll just drop some clues, an Easter egg here or there.
Yep,
And you have to figure it out.
That's right. Called marketing.
Sounds like Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Yep. And whoever finds me on any social media site will get my entire fortune.
Wow. They just have to find you.
Just gotta find me.
You know, with the algorithm these days, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a real guarantee.
All right. And then for the show plugs, which granted, people have heard these how many weeks in a row, the plugs? They probably know them by now.
What if this is their first time at the podcast?
That's such a weird thing to listen. Like, what are we, 8, 9 episodes into this book? Yeah, but that's one thing I always find weird with plugs is it's pretty much obligatory. You always tell everybody everything.
Well, it's repetition. That's what it is. Get it in their head.
Oh yeah, I know.
And maybe
But,
remind people.
It's studied that the more times you tell somebody something, it does actually increase their likelihood of engaging with the thing, even if at first they said no.
Yeah, at first you don't succeed.
Yeah.
Just like when you ask someone out on a date and they say no, you keep doing it until they say yeah.
Yeah. Do not follow her advice on that.
All right, but all right. So with
wear
repetition,
them down.
Yeah, wear them down.
Yeah.
With the repetition, I will tell everyone to go and rate us on whatever podcasting place you're listening to this episode right now, and also give us a review on there because those can be fun and enjoyable for you to give us ratings.
Yeah, that's right. Lie to them. It is
Sounds,
fun.
jeez. I wish I could do that too.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't on this podcast so I could give it a rating.
Yeah, it just sounds like that much fun to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess I could do it. Like nothing's stopping me from going.
And then if you
give it a like.
Then after you give us that rating, if you want to go and follow us on Key, a most ancient letter, formerly known as Twitter, we are at Cosmicron, CosMerechron, where you can see us tell you when a new episode is up. And then once you're done following us on there, you can go to the YouTube and listen to the episodes there as well and leave comments on individual episodes and be like, oh yeah, that was cool. Or no, that's stupid. Sazid's not a robot.
Finally been unproven, Sheta. I no longer have to put up with that nonsense from you.
And then, I didn't say. He used the word automaton, not me.
And then after you leave those individual comments, if you want to leave something more long form, you can send us an email, which is going to be cosmerechronicles@gmail.com, where you can give us much more in-depth talks about your thoughts on our podcast. And then I will read them out loud for Justin and Sheta, so you can get a live reaction from them hearing it. If you don't want me to read it out loud, tell me not to.
You can have it be your goal to make us cry on the podcast if you want.
Yep. We're gonna become those type of streamers who people just try to torture, and we do it for money.
No, I'm very sensitive, so it would be very easy.
And that's a guarantee.
Yeah, so it's a guarantee.
All right. But I think that's going to be all for this week. So, then after you do that, after you send the email and everything, then what you need to do next is go to your local White Castle, get yourself some delicious food, and then be sure to come back next week to listen to the next podcast episode. So until then, everyone, go out and have fun.
Yep. And Wendy's did drop me as a sponsor, so I'm jumping back to the White Castle train. So, eat fresh.
It's not White Castle.
Yeah.
Well, I think I just got fired again.
It's have it your way, Justin.
Just say goodbye so we can be done.
Bye. Sorry. Bye.